Hello chaps, welcome to John Robson Guitar Tuition once again. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, today you join me at the beginning of something of a project I think we've stumbled into. I was out doing a little bit of shopping earlier on this morning, and on a whim, for reasons I still can't really explain, I walked into the local branch of Cash Converters, and this was hanging on the wall. A Yamaha Pacifica 112, and I bought it. It's a little bit tatty and scruffy. It's got a few dings and scrapes and battle scars. The strings are absolutely knackered, and I don't think it's been even in the same room as a cleaning product in quite some time. It's filthy. So why did I buy it? Well, the price. This entire guitar, this whole electric guitar, cost me 60 quid, 59.99. I mean, you just can't walk away at that kind of price. So anyway, I've got it, and I'm going to use it as a platform for upgrades, and you're going to see all of those upgrades being carried out, and we're going to also hear a kind of a before and after test and see exactly what difference it makes. It already is a perfectly usable guitar, despite the fact that it's a bit tatty and a bit dinged around the body and everything. It's basically okay. The neck is perfectly fine, the frets are fine, there's no fret buzz, nice low action. It's a usable guitar. It just needs a little bit of TLC that hopefully I can give it, and yeah, it should be interesting. So let's crack on with it then. Okay, as you can see, I've stripped the guitar of all of the hardware, apart from the tuners. I've left those on, but all the electrics, bridge, everything gone. Now then, first thing it needed was a thorough deep clean. It was absolutely minging, as they say in these parts. All I used to clean it was just some weak soapy water and a very mild sort of pan scrubber, basically just to cut through all of the sweat and grease and claggy stuff that was on there. I've also polished the frets up, which you can't really see from this angle, but they were absolutely filthy. You could have grown mushrooms on them. All I use to polish up frets, you can buy a variety of products from Crimson Guitars or StewMac or anywhere like that. Some people use wire wool and it works, but the problem with wire wool is it's a bit like if you've ever unfortunately had your car window smashed, 10 years later when you've moved house 3 times and got a different car altogether, you're still finding bits of glass, and it goes everywhere. It's in your sock drawer, it's in your wallet, it's in the pocket of that coat that you only wear in the winter. It just gets everywhere, and the same is true with wire wool. I don't like using it on the guitar. The product that I use was recommended to me by my mentor when it comes to guitar maintenance, the late great Jim Cairns, a guy who made guitars for Chris Rea, the Shadows, I believe the Eagles had guitars made by him as well. He lived about a 10-minute walk away from me, and the one thing he always told me to use on the frets was good old-fashioned brasso. Just make sure you mask off the fretboard before you use it, and it brings them up as good as anything. So that's what I used. Now then, what we're going to do with this guitar is I used to think that the ultimate pickup configuration for any S-type guitar was humbucker single. But recently I've noticed that all I'm ever using on any kind of Strat type guitar is the neck pickup for that kind of Texas blues sort of sound, and the bridge humbucker. And coupled with the fact that I've been kind of an avid Telecaster player for the past few years, I've really grown to love that sort of mixed position setting on a twin pickup guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to effectively convert it into one of these things, the Yamaha Pacifica 311H, where you've got a nice bridge humbucker and a nice big fat neck single coil P90. I've already ordered the parts, and as soon as they're here you're going to see me installing them. The tortoiseshell scratch plate that you see on that you saw on that Yamaha there, I've got one of those coming, albeit a slightly different shape to fit this this Pacifica. It's already pool routed, as you can see, so there's no wood to kind of hack away at in order to fit the P90. So it should all go together swimmingly well. So I guess we'll wait and see, won't we? But that's the progress report. Next time you see me is when I've got some pieces to fit to it. Right then folks, it's now a few days later and all of the bits and pieces that I ordered for the guitar have arrived. So let's have a look and see what we've got. Here's the main business end of what's happening, the scratch plate with all the electrical goodies mounted in it. Let's have a look at the details then. In the bridge position we have a Vanson Alnico 559 humbucker. I've used these pickups a few times before and always been very happy with the results. As its name suggests, it's an Alnico 5 humbucker. DC resistance is 8.3k and it has a very warm vintage humbucker sound. It's essentially the same spec as Seymour Duncan 59 pickup, but it has an edge over the Seymour Duncan in a couple of ways. First of all, this one comes with 4 conductor wiring, so you can switch it into single coil mode if that's the sort of thing you want to go for, if you want that versatility. And its price is its other main selling point. This pickup costs £16.90. You know, I mean, for that kind of money, take a chance. You know, just try one. If you don't like it, or if you think it's junk, then it's cost you less than 20 quid to find out. But you might just get a nice surprise, as I did the first time I tried one of these pickups. And it is also possible, by the way, to spend considerably more than that on upgrades for a guitar and end up being severely disappointed, as you will find out later on in this video. Anyway, moving on to the neck pickup, we've got an unbranded Alnico 5 magnet humbucker size P90. I was a little bit limited for choice with this pickup because I wanted a P90. It had to have a Alnico 5 magnet and it had to be a humbucker sized casing, which, you know, meant that there was, when you kind of looked at the Venn diagram for all those things, there weren't too many choices. Plenty of P90s out there if you want the soap bar type or the dog ear type, plenty of ceramic P90s out there, but this was, I think, the only one I could find on eBay when I was looking, so I decided to take a chance again. It was £13.99. You know, if I don't like it, I'll, you know, kind of hang around and wait till I find something more to my liking and swap it out. Both of these are mounted into a replacement Pacifica scratch plate, costing £11.75. Just go onto eBay and type in replacement scratch plates for Pacificas and, you know, you're spoiled for choice. I like the tortoiseshell finish. I understand it is a little bit Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it. I love it. And you'll notice as well that I've gone for a pair of chicken head knobs. I just like the look of it. It looks kind of, against the tortoiseshell, it looks kind of retro, and, you know, it looks like kind of a 1940s radiogram that my granny used to have when I used to visit her when I was a kid. And yeah, so that's what's mainly going on with the electrics, but we still need to think about wiring it all up, so we need a wiring harness. Let's go and see what solution I looked at for that. Okay then, so we need all of the wiring to wire the guitar up. Now obviously you can go out and buy the pots and the switch and the capacitor and a reel of wire and make a wiring harness from scratch yourself, but frankly life's too short. I'm just going to buy a pre-made one. This is the site I always use for guitar spares, Axes R Us. I find them very reasonable on price and very helpful as well if you just need some advice on what to buy. Now what we're doing is essentially going from a Strat configuration with 3 pickups and a 5-way selector to something more like a Telecaster with 2 pickups, a 3-way selector, master volume and master tone control. So it's the Telecaster option that we're going to look at here. So here we go. Whichever one of these I get, I'm basically obviously going to have to take the pots and the switch out of the metal plate and mount them in the scratch plate on the Pacifica, but that's not a big deal. And this is the one that I'm having. In fact, I've already got it. It's the budget mini-sized control assembly for £16, which will horrify some people, I'm sure, because the received wisdom is obviously that you need CTS pots and a Switchcraft switch and an orange drop capacitor, and anything less is just not good enough. Well, here's the thing. My main guitar, my Telecaster, that I'm sure you've seen in many videos, when I became conscious that it was the guitar I was reaching for most of the time, it was my number one instrument effectively, I decided to give the old girl a little bit of an upgrade, and I ordered all those components and I installed them, and I made a video about it with before and after clips showing what a difference it made, and I ended up having to scrap that video because what difference it made was absolutely none at all. The square root of bugger all, as they say. It made not a jot of difference to how the guitar sounded or how the controls responded. Here's a little challenge if you're up for it. Go back through the last 12 months of my videos where I'm using that guitar and see if you can spot the one where the sound of it changes dramatically for the better because it had the upgraded components installed. If you can, then you've got better ears than I have, because frankly I can't hear any difference at all, which is why I'm ordering, well, in fact, as I said, I've already ordered this control assembly for the Pacifica. Next thing we're going to do is see how it all gets wired up. So there you go, a cheap and cheerful Telecaster control harness is what's gone into this. As I say, it's the exact same one that used to be in this guitar until I upgraded everything and put better quality pots, or supposedly better quality pots and switches and stuff into it, and it made not a blind bit of difference. It was, I guess it was a waste of money in some ways, but in other ways it was the price of an education. Don't believe everything on the internet when people are talking about such things. Anyway, what I'm not going to do is do a video where you're peering at the back of my head as I'm hunched over a soldering iron, burning me fingers and swearing a lot. Frankly, if you know how to solder, you know how to solder. If you don't, then either take it to your local guitar shop to get them to do it, it won't cost you a lot, or have a look on YouTube for better tutorials than I could really give on soldering. What I will do though is show you exactly where all the wires go. Here we are. Right, here is the diagram showing you where all the wires go to. If you're using a pre-made wiring harness like I am with this guitar, then much of this wiring will, of course, have already been done for you. That's the advantage of buying a pre-made harness. But if you're doing it from scratch, then just copy what you see here. If we look at the switch, this is the import style switch, which is the kind of switch that you get on most Far Eastern guitars. You will see that there are 8 lugs on there, and basically you solder the hot output from the neck pickup to lugs 2 and 3, and the hot output from the bridge pickup to lugs 6 and 7. Lugs 4 and 5 are connected to the bottom lug on the volume control, as you can see here. The wire which is coming off the casing of the volume control and just going nowhere, that is your ground connection, and that should be connected to an appropriate earthing point on your guitar, which, if you're playing a Strat, will be the claw in the trem cavity at the back. Just solder it onto there. Or if you're doing this to a Telecaster, then basically just the underside of the bridge. You should also solder the braid or earth wires from each pickup to ground, which once again is usually the back of the volume pot. Now that ground wire has been connected there. And that's it. Your guitar is now wired up. I cannot believe I used to work as a quality assurance engineer in an electronics lab. Every day I would go into work and do soldering. These days you put a soldering iron in my hand, I turn into a cack-handed idiot. I do there are people who say I turn into one of those when you put a guitar in my hands as well, but yeah, we won't go there. Anyway, as you can tell, she's finished. There you go. All of the electrics and everything mounted in, with, as I said, a fair bit of swearing and burnt fingers. The only other thing I've done is round the back. You can see that I've blocked the trem off with a block of wood. Why I've done this is basically because these days I tend to prefer a fixed bridge guitar anyway, and I was going to replace this rather skinny bridge block with something a little bit more substantial, because it does give more sustain and a better kind of resonance of sound. But blocking the trem off with that lump of wood kind of does that anyway, so if I'm just going for a fixed bridge option, then you know, why spend the extra money? Talking of money, how much has this all cost? Well, the guitar was 60 quid, and all in, just a rough mental calculation now, I think everything all together has cost me about 130 quid in total, including the purchase price of the guitar. Anyway, enough blethering. Let's hear what it sounds like, starting off with some clean tones. And now for a little bit of crunchy classic rock or blues overdrive. And finally, let's crank it up to 11. So I think you can hear that there is a very nice palette of sounds on offer from this guitar. I'm absolutely over the moon with this neck P90. £14 very well spent, I think, there. But the real standout star of the show for me is that in-between position in the mixed pickup settings. It's got elements of all of my favourite mixed pickup guitars. You know, there's an element of Telecaster in there, certainly. The warmth of the humbucker in P90 give it a little bit of Les Paul girth, and the thing is that there's also, to my ears, certainly more than a hint of that kind of in-between Strat quackiness in there. Since I finished the guitar, I've been kind of noodling away on it, and I played through Sultans of Swing, and it sounded absolutely great playing all those kind of Knopfler licks. So yeah, very happy with that. I will just say as well that this is an oldish guitar. We can tell from the scratch plate that was on it when it arrived. As you can see here, it has the pre-2007 scratch plate design. That's when the guitar was, the Pacificas were updated that year. So it's at least 11 years old, this guitar, and possibly a little bit older, I think, and it hasn't been particularly well looked after by its previous owner or owners. And there was very little needed doing to it in terms of a setup. You know, a guitar in that condition, you expect that the frets are going to need levelling or crowning or whatever. All I've done is fit some 10 to 46 strings. I think there were 9 to 42s on it when it came. They were so manky it was difficult to tell. But you know, the truss rod needed a little bit of a tweak, and the intonation did as well. That's it. That's all the setup work I've had to do. I've got a super slinky, low, fast action on it. It plays beautifully, and you know, for 130 quid all in for a guitar that looks like this, which I know these looks are going to divide opinion, but I like it because I did it that way. Or I did it that way because I like it, I should say. You know, for a guitar that looks, to my eyes, beautiful and sounds as good as you've heard it sound there, I mean, what's not to like? So there you go. That is the Pacifica project, finished, done, sorted. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day. But before I go, I'll just mention my GoFundMe campaign. Basically, Guitars for Good Causes is what it's called. You'll find a link in the description box below. What's happening, I'm sure you know by now, but I'll explain it for any newbies here. Basically, you donate to that campaign, I use the money to go out and buy guitars, I then review the guitars and then sell the guitars on with the proceeds going to a charity in Middlesbrough called Zoe's Place, who provide palliative, respite and end-of-life care to children under 5 with terminal illnesses. So a very worthy cause, and I do hope you can find it in your heart to throw a few quid into the bucket just to kind of keep the ball rolling. I don't make a penny out of this. The only benefit I get from it is I get to review the guitars and hopefully grow my channel a little bit. The main, or the proper recipients of your generosity are the sick children in Middlesbrough. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. I do hope you found this informative, useful, maybe even a little bit inspiring. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you live on Teesside in the northeast of England and you would like some tailored one-to-one guitar tuition, give me a shout via the details at the end of this video. Even if you don't live on Teesside, get in touch anyway, because you can also have a lesson via Skype. And whichever way you do it, your first lesson is of course free. And with that, I'll bid you good day, look forward to seeing you all again next time, and bye for now, folks.